Hello everybody, thank you for coming back to my channel. It's Megan here, the faithful fibromyalgia warrior. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having great days. It's Friday, what is not to love? End of the work week for those who work, end of the school week for those of you who are in school. And I don't know, it always gets me, even though I'm not in school and I'm not in work because of my medical issues, it's still great. It means, we're closer to the end of that of a busy week, and that means I can look forward to part of Saturday with my husband and my son, and means usually we just chill out. There aren't any rushed plans, and that means we look forward to seeing friends at church on Sunday. It's a great day. But even more important to me is not just the fact it's Friday. I mean, every day is a day that I'm trying to be grateful and joyful because I have God. I'm saved through Jesus Christ, and it's amazing being a Christian. Absolutely, He is my higher power. He is the strength I turn to when I need extra support and when I need extra help, and it's fantastic to me. I am so thankful for everything that I have in this lifetime that I would not have without God. I've had to go through different things. I've had to experience challenges and heartbreak, and I didn't ask for fibromyalgia or a back injury. I didn't ask to have to stop working. I didn't ask for that. However, I do know that God let me go through all these things, and that I still go through these things to a lesser degree, because He knows that I'm able to handle it with my faith, and that to me is amazing. And for those of you who maybe aren't Christian, who are spiritual but believe in something else, something out there bigger than yourselves, that's fantastic. It starts somewhere, doesn't it? You have to figure out what is greater than you, that when you're struggling, you can turn to in a time of crisis, other than yourself. And whether that's Mother Nature, different gods of different religions, whatever it is, as the 12-step programs will tell you, it's a God of your understanding, something greater than yourself that is your higher power. Because let's face it, if we could control what we ate, if we could overcome our eating disorders, if we could overcome our food addictions, if we could overcome our anxieties and depression and other issues on our own strength and our own willpower, we would. And the fact that we don't, it doesn't mean we're bad people. It means we need help. And I am no doctor. I am no expert, right? I didn't go to school for anything like that. But I'm hoping that my story will help inspire you. And, if you are also a Christian, if you also believe in God and the God of Jesus Christ, and that's how we are, that's how we get salvation, is that way. If that's your belief system, amen. Let me know. Send me messages. It's always great to meet Christians from all over the place. And, that way when I go live, I get to talk to people from all over the world. I've talked with people as far away as Taiwan, and, throughout the U.S. and I think one or two in Canada, some in Sweden, somebody from, not France, sorry. So all sorts of places. It's great to build a community of faith, of people who also believe in Jesus, but not just that, people who are maybe going through similar struggles, whether it's with fibromyalgia, chronic pain, lower back issues, musculoskeletal chronic pain, as well as maybe things like anxiety and depression. Perhaps you are trying to overcome an eating disorder and you're not quite there yet, or you are working on it and perhaps you're finding yourself stuck. I don't claim to have all the answers. As far as I'm concerned, the one with all the answers is God. And so that's why I go to. That's why pray to for wisdom. That's where I go to dig in the scriptures and hope that, when I stop and listen to what God wants me to do, that's what guides me. Some people might call it your subconscious. Some people might call it like maybe a little voice or the angel on your shoulder whispering to you, tapping you. To me, that's the Holy Spirit trying to say, yes, do this, no, don't do that. And I try to listen. I don't always listen right away. In fact, most of us don't, right? We try to ignore those things. But I'm thankful that I finally did. I'm thankful that I finally listened to the Spirit. And 2.5 years ago, through a journey through paleo and then into keto and eventually carnivore, I finally got my body healthy. And not only that, I got my brain fog disappeared completely. And I was able to actually connect with God in a real and meaningful way, which to me has been fantastic. And I'm truly grateful. God led me to carnivore so that I could find my way back to Him and renew my faith, deepen it. Now, that does not mean that I do not struggle with things like still feeling tired, still having chronic pain, still dealing with arthritis, still dealing with IBS. I'm not in remission yet. I am mostly symptom-free as far as the IBS goes. As long as I eat the things I know I'm okay with and I avoid the things that I know are triggers, I do all right. I actually do pretty well. By the way, this, in case you're wondering, this is hot water. I already had a really nice cappuccino today, so that's me for today as far as caffeine. I'm done now. But yeah, so what I've realized is that sometimes, in life, we try to look. I used to think, well, I'm making all these great big changes, so where are the great big victories? I'm looking for the victories. Where are the victories? And when I came to understand even more today, perhaps more than anything I've learned, anything I've done, anything I've come to find out so far, even in the past 2.5 years, is that sometimes it's these small victories that are the most meaningful. Here's what I mean by that. So with regards to in my recovery from bulimia. Now, for 2.5 years, more or less, I have been predominantly carnivore with a little bit of dairy now and then, and with not just that, but also occasionally, not just occasionally, with being mainly beef, a little lamb, bacon, egg yolks, and occasionally a bit of pork. But mainly it's been beef and some lamb. So I would say 95% of what I eat is beef. And that is almost completely, of that 95%, I would say 99.9% of the beef is ground beef, higher fat, 20 to 23%. Okay. That last little 0.1% would be steaks or a little bit of brisket when I'm cooking it for the family, of the red meat, of the cow that I'm eating. So that's 95% of my overall diet. The remaining 5% would be divided between mostly egg yolks, so a little bit of lamb, bacon, and occasionally sausages. That would be mostly what I eat. Again, like I say, I do have a little bit of dairy, so I'll have a cappuccino with the frothed up milk. And it's usually semi-skim. Sometimes they do it with whole skim, depending on where I happen to go. But that's one a day. And if I drink any more coffee, I generally keep it black. So very low carb. Like maybe, 5 grams. I try to keep it below that as much as possible. 10 sometimes if I incorporate a little bit of cheese. So those are little victories, and I'm understanding how much I can tolerate before it upsets my gut, and then I just reset, because I'm trying to have, I love fatty ground beef. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love it cooked. I have tried little bits of it raw. Not a huge fan, gotta say. That's just me. And I know that some people enjoy their meat and the animal organs raw. I don't find it. It looks nice, but when I see like a pack of ground mince sitting on my counter, I am not tempted to eat it raw. Other than if I'm really hungry because I've gone too long without food, then I'm tempted to start eating it raw. However, I've not done that. And the main reason is not because I don't think I would be able to enjoy the taste. The main reason is simply this. Last year, I went through a phase where I was craving liver. And as much as I tried to enjoy lamb liver, I couldn't do it. Didn't matter how long I soaked it, whether it was with water or milk, added some vinegar. No, couldn't do it. But with chicken livers, obviously they're not as strong in smell and taste. Lamb's is a gamier tasting red meat anyways. So I thought chicken livers, because I couldn't get beef livers at the grocery store and we did not have a butcher close by wherein I could get, either kidneys or livers easily. It was either lamb or chicken. So anyways, chicken. And I followed some YouTube videos, got some ideas on how to fry them up. I did initially try it with coconut oil, and they had this weird kind of sweet taste, which was just gross. But when I switched to butter, oh my goodness, a light went off in my head. It's like, oh, that's it. So what I was doing though is because I was still using sauces at that point. And what I did was I cut them all into tiny little pieces, and I would marinate them for the day in barbecue sauce with some salt and just leave it in the fridge. And I would add a few spoonfuls in with my ground beef. And it was amazing. The first couple of times, it wasn't overly sweet. It was more like HP sauce, or like a brown sauce. And it had a bit of tang, and it was great. So the first time I tried it, I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much, I not only had it at lunch that day, but I had it as part of my dinner. And I thought, well, if one day's good, then my gosh, why don't I do this like every day for the next several days? With no idea, that I was taking in far too much liver for what I needed. Nobody needs to eat liver, unless maybe if you're anemic, but I would put before you that if you were to simply eat red meat, cooked or otherwise, that would probably help ease up those issues. I didn't know that, right? I was following several people on YouTube who I have nothing but respect for, so I thought, well, if they're saying it's good, then I guess I better, right? Didn't want to have my card taken away. And what I did not realize was, one, I was eating far too much of the liver. Okay, I was eating it quickly because the thing I found is, even though I'd seasoned it, if it got cold, it was gross. Like the texture was disgusting. So I had to eat it quick, which means I wasn't giving my body enough time to let my brain know, oh, by the way, we're full. So I was eating more than I needed to. And that was causing me bloating and digestion. So by the time it was day 2, and here I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm great. I'm eating liver daily. It's going to be amazing for me. And I didn't need it. I was making myself eat it. And my body was trying to tell me, yeah, you don't need anymore. Because that's the thing, right? Is like, for example, with fat, if we take the time to eat slowly and enjoy the food and not rush it and let our leptin and signals go along with the hunger signals, our body will learn to tell us that's enough. We don't need any more. We don't want any more. And you learn how to stop and feel satiated and not force it down yourself, which is what I was doing. But I thought, oh, I've got it. I figured it out. This is awesome. I'm in with the crowd for sure because I'm eating liver. Well, what I did not understand was that yes, you can buy liver and you can have it now and then, of course, and you might even get it to be okay if you leave it for a day. But unlike the muscle meat, which can sit uncooked in your fridge for up to 4 days, I think some cuts you can probably get away with almost 5, depending on how cold your fridge is. I wouldn't necessarily risk it, but just saying. Liver, if it is fresh and you open the package, you must consume it within 48 hours. I didn't really understand that that was the reason, and that it could actually go off. Right? I figured it's an organ. Yeah, it's like yogurt. How is it going to ever go off? Right. Well, day 2, I carried on with eating the liver pieces I'd marinated for breakfast and lunch. And by the time I got to day 3, and I had some with breakfast, by the time I got to lunch, I was feeling horrible. And I still made myself eat it. By the end of day 3, I was feeling off. I was feeling so nauseous. I was feeling so sick. I couldn't eat any more of the liver. Turns out, as I would discover the following week, and it was confirmed by a nurse practitioner, I had food poisoning because I had left the liver in the fridge for too long and it had gone off. So, I will personally not be rushing out to eat organ meat anytime soon. And the thing is that I didn't actually need it in the first place. God made our bodies perfectly, and for them to function in a specific and certain way. Now, sometimes, for whatever reason, some parts may not function as well as they should ideally, and so when we eat the meat of the animals that we choose to eat, now anything that swims, slithers, flies, crawls, walks, anything like that, any creation that is an animal, that is not a plant, God created for us to eat. So whether you want to eat rabbit, which actually I wouldn't mind trying, rabbit stew, sounds really, really nice. Whether you're eating rabbit or goose, pheasant, chicken wings, beef from a cow or an oxen, or venison, or antelope, whatever it is you're eating, okay, whatever creature you're eating. If you're somewhere in the world where, maybe snake meat is delicacy, I don't know, but it was an animal, so you can technically eat it. Doesn't mean I'm in any rush to try it, but, why not? There's lamb, there's mutton, which, as I found out not too long ago, mutton is a sheep that has been raised and is out in the grass for a much longer time. So the fats, I believe that means the fat has had a chance to build up a little bit more and is a little bit more easy to eat. That's my understanding. So anyhow, by eating the skeletal meat from the animals and its associated fat, which I do, I eat the fat that's part of the meat when it's minced, all of the good stuff, that was actually more than enough. So, why have I shared all this? Well, to show how the things that I would have run screaming from 3 years ago, because I was too worried that all that fat would make me fat. It's the complete opposite. If you cut out or cut down significantly on your carbohydrate intake, which is not just the processed and the seed oils and the processed and refined sugar stuff, like the junk food stuff, or even things like store-bought bread, it's all of those things that are plant-based, have some carbs in them. I had to get rid of that in order to start to heal in stages. Now, in spite of the fact that 2.5 years ago, even when I was down 60 pounds, which would have been around Christmas time of 2020, I was still struggling with seeing myself in the mirror, and even though my weight was down, my fat was down, in my mind, I still saw the same woman who had started this journey at 200 pounds, which at 5'5" is way too much. Okay, even without the arthritis and the back pain and the disc injury and all the other skeletal issues from various falls and spills as a kid growing up in Canada, you slip, you fall on the ice at least once a year, you go sledding, you wipe out, there's something else you banged up, right? That type of stuff. Falling while skating, wiping out on skiing holidays, it all adds up. It adds trauma to the body, some of which it will heal from, and some of it, may not fully heal. But even with that, I was still, in my mind, I would look in the mirror and I would still see this fat, inflamed, sick woman, even though I was healing. So for me, by the time it was Christmas of 2020, I was so thankful that I was renewed in my faith. I was praying daily. I was walking with God, or trying to, as best I could, following a carnivore way of eating. And yet those feelings, those thoughts were still there. Are they thoughts and feelings that spring up because, Satan wants us to fail? I think that's part of it, yes. And was I still struggling to get on top of my anxiety? Yes, I was. I was praying for it. I was, asking God to take away my anxious thoughts. I was, trying to meditate and find peace by reminding myself that it's okay. I don't have to be in control of everything in the world. And things will happen that are out of my control, and I just have to simply let go. And I know I know to say that sounds like, oh, that's so easy. Yeah, good for you. I had to spend much, much, much time praying through that exact thing. And I still have to every day when I spend time with God, whether I'm reading scriptures and whether I'm praying, I am always asking to be at peace and not grow anxious. And let's just say, almost immediately afterwards, something will happen that will make me feel anxious. So I'm a work in progress. But I'm finding that when I get those feelings, I can get through them faster than I used to. They don't hang on to me and take over my whole day. And so that, for me, is a small little victory, but it adds up. So when I'm feeling like, I can't wear that, that's going to make me look fat. Well, I can't wear that. Why am I so big? And all those crazy thoughts that came with a warped body image and an eating disorder, they don't last as long. For example, today I went out, I needed to find a good pair of jeans, okay? I needed a new pair. And I went and tried on 4 different kinds, okay, at a local Primark here. And they were all the same size, okay, and apparently all the same style. And every single pair fit me totally different. Now, to be honest, the one I went with was finally like a high waist and wide leg style of jean, kind of almost like a flare at the bottom, but kind of loose fitting. And they're black and fantastic and comfy and all of that. And what I had to remember was that even if every single pair I tried on said they were the same size 10, that's 10 in the UK, which is, I believe, a size 6 in Canada and the States. They were all different materials. They were all slightly different shapes. Some were wider leg than others. Some had a slightly lower high waist than others, which is why I've realized it's really important, one, to properly measure yourself, and whenever possible, try stuff on first. But when some of the pairs I really liked wouldn't go on and wouldn't zip up and didn't fit right, in the past, I would have been a complete and total wreck. I would have been close to tears, and I would have been wanting to rush out and grab another coffee and eat a chocolate like a brownie or something crappy because why? Well, since that doesn't fit and I'm going to get fat, might as well enjoy something garbagey anyhow. But I didn't do that. I feel like this was a great move forward for me because I was able to stop and look at it like logically. Now the mirrors there's sort of weird the way that they have them hung. How you look in something is a bit warped. Okay, for me it almost is like it's almost like going into one of those fun houses with with the wobbly mirrors because how I look in a mirror in the change room, I look totally different in my mirror at home. And it's not just in my head. I know it's not. I've taken pictures and it's like, wow, that's kind of weird. But in order to look objectively, what I did was I tried on all those pairs of jeans or bottoms, took a few pictures by comparison, but what I first did was I looked at the ones I was already wearing, which fit properly and are comfortable, and I said, right, so this is how these ones should fit similar to this. But, from the hip down, they're going to be wide-legged instead of skinny and flared. No problem. So there's a wide range of difference even between multiple pairs of jeans that were labeled as wide leg, high waist. Now, I did find a pair that was just right. I realized all the other ones I was trying on were cropped. They were too short. What I'm saying is I did not have a meltdown. I realized that depending on the type of fabric it's made from, like what kind of, is it a thick denim? Is it a stretchy denim? Is it one of those coated PU ones so it looks like it's leather but it's not? Is it corduroy? Does it have a slight flare? What's the full length? It all makes a difference. And so not every pair of size 10s is the same. And for somebody who has always struggled with body image issues, this was a revelation. And I should have known this, and I think intellectually I did, but for the first time today, emotionally I got it. Now it helped because before I went in, I prayed to God. I prayed for peace. I prayed not to have anxiety because trying on clothes is, believe it or not, is not my funnest experience. I'm usually very sore by the time I'm done. Standing there and taking things on and off. If you have fibromyalgia, you can probably relate. But I didn't allow those negative thoughts to take root. And like I say, it helped because I took a moment and I prayed about it before I went into the store. And as I was looking through, I was like, right, I know I've measured myself recently with a tape measure. I know what my waist is. I know what my hips are, which means I should be a size 10. Right? And then thankfully I tried stuff on and I was able to go, right, well, that one isn't actually a true high waist, or that one's got a weird cut to it and the fabric is too heavy. So let's, and realizing logically, it's not that I'm going bigger and smaller when I try on jeans. I'm not. It's the fact that the jeans are cut differently and slightly designed differently, even though they say they're the same size and should fit the same person. What has helped me as well is I realize for me, if I'm going to I do better. I think there's, let me say this. People can wear whatever they want to wear. I'm not the fashion police. Wear whatever you feel like. If it's comfortable and you like it, go ahead. For me, because I'm just starting to be comfortable in what I look like and how I appear, not to be vain, that's not my goal, but it's to say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to be anxious about how I look because I'm wearing something that I am confident about, that it flatters my shape. That was the other key, was learning to shop for my body shape. So I'm an hourglass shape, right? And one of the things I have learned quickly is I do best with bottoms, whether it's jeans or trousers or skirts. I do best with things that are high-waisted. because they're designed in such a way that they go over the hips and then come out. So it basically, what it does is it keeps your bottom half from looking too wide, and it balances out your bottom half with your top half. Whether you wear a sweater on top or just a turtleneck or a t-shirt. So, and I personally don't like having stuff sit right along the widest part of my hip bone because it presses against my SI joint and where a lot of my pain is. So even if I was more of a rectangle shape, I would still not wear anything that was a low rise or a mid rise because they sit right at the bone, which is uncomfortable to me. So those are things I've kind of learned and if I stick to like a flare shape, or bell bottoms if you want to call them, flare shape or boot cut if it's a jean, and or a wide leg, it just, I don't know, it just visually it kind of helps balance everything out. It's flattering. Whereas I bought a pair of mid-rise jeans not too long ago, nice pair of flares, and they're comfortable, but they sit right at the widest part of my hip, which on me is not that flattering. But I'm able to actually look at that and go, wait a minute, I've not just suddenly put on 15 pounds overnight. It's because visually our eyes are drawn to the fact, or, you know, the eyes, oh, hold on, Billy. The eyes get drawn to the hip, the widest part of the hip, because that's what's being emphasized. So just, I don't know, little tips. I hope that might be helpful. Now, I did go through a point where my inflammation and pain was so bad, I couldn't wear jeans. I really had a hard time with most pairs of tights. It felt like my toes were being completely squished. I was always leggings and socks and a loose, flowy top. Basically the same thing I would have worn when I was pregnant. So now, because I feel as though, you know, those sorts of things, if they're fitted right and they're the correct size, and I'm not having like a belt across my lower back, and I'm not having a waistband there or a hip band there, I can wear this stuff and I feel comfortable and I feel, you know, fashionable, and I feel like I'm part of the world. And it's a little thing, but for somebody who is recovering from an eating disorder and a horrible self-image and body image, it's a massive victory. So it can happen, you know. Oh, the dogs are playing with each other. It can happen, but it took me time to get there. So little victories, guys. And I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will hopefully be back live tomorrow. I'm going to be busy this evening, but thank you so much for coming to the channel. Please pass this on to anybody it could help. And thanks so much for your support. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.